Hello, and welcome to our webinar on using ESSER funds for building strong relationships in high school. My name is Caroline Moore, and I'm an associate at Education Resource Strategies. ERS is a national nonprofit that partners with district, school, and state leaders to transform how they use people, time, and money so that every school prepares every child for tomorrow, no matter their race or income. Specifically, in furthering our mission in this moment of response to the disruption to student experience caused by COVID-19, ERS has created a series of guidebooks to support districts in strategically implementing high-impact strategies using stimulus dollars with an eye towards sustainability. We're excited to highlight shining examples of transformational work happening all across the country, where districts and schools are making intentional efforts to support students and improve schools now, while also engaging in critical conversations and shifts to ensure sustainability of these strategies once short-term revenue streams expire. So, why should strengthening relationships in high school be a focus of our ESSER investment? As a result of the pandemic, we're seeing reports of drastically intensified student need. By strengthening student-staff relationships and social-emotional supports, school districts across the country can help students access grade-level learning and stay connected to school in the long term. Our strategy guide helps district leaders who are looking to strengthen the student-staff relationships and social-emotional supports they provide their secondary school students and organize resources to do so in an intentional, strategic, and sustainable manner. In this talk, we will discuss the research-backed elements of two strategies to build strong student-teacher relationships in high school: advisory programs and lower teacher loads. We will talk through some key staffing and scheduling decision points that come up when implementing these strategies and provide some concrete examples of what they might look like. We'll also talk about how districts might use short-term federal stimulus dollars strategically to invest in getting these strategies off the ground. So, as many of us know, students of all ages are currently experiencing unprecedented social and emotional needs in the wake of the pandemic and resulting months or years of hybrid or virtual schooling. Students were experiencing isolation, and many experienced trauma directly related to the pandemic, including loss of loved ones or increased financial instability. Black students in particular also experienced and are still experiencing intense race-based adversity, discrimination, and stress. In addition, almost half of students in remote or hybrid schools over the last couple of years reported that there was not an adult at school that they felt that they could talk to if they were feeling upset or stressed. The effects of these last several years will impact students and their participation in school for years to come, and research suggests that tackling these challenges needs to be a top priority for schools. In fact, strong student-staff relationships can improve learning and academic outcomes, according to at least one study, and students experiencing higher adversity or challenge tend to benefit most from these stronger relationships. While relationships with any adults in the school building are valuable, research also suggests that in-class motivation is most improved by developing strong relationships between the teacher themselves with the students. So, what can schools and districts do to tackle these challenges? There are several approaches that schools and districts can invest in and organize around to strengthen relationships and social emotional supports in their high schools. This guide and talk focuses on two: advisory and lower teacher loads. Because these strategies focus so specifically on teacher-student relationships, they may lead to more impact than other approaches, yet at the same time be more complex to organize. Other strategies, such as high-dosage tutoring, counseling, and mentoring, are also valuable ways to achieve the same goal of strengthening relationships and can be explored in the references mentioned on this page. And of course, many of these approaches can and should be combined within a school to ensure students have multiple avenues to building these strong relationships. So first, we'll spend some time talking about strong advisory programs in the high school context. So the first question is, what is advisory? In advisory programs, staff are assigned a small group of students to meet with regularly in order to build relationships, school culture, and social emotional skills. This creates a consistent, safe space for students to build trust and ensures that each student has at least one adult who knows them well and who they can approach if they need support or guidance. Depending on your building's curriculum, advisory programs may have a focus on building community among peers within the same advisory group, developing social emotional skills, or providing additional guidance and support for academic and post-secondary plans. In addition to the benefits of positive teacher-student relationships we've already discussed, advisory can improve social-emotional competence, which can increase the likelihood of a whole host of positive life outcomes even beyond high school graduation, such as career success. Relatedly, advising can provide another avenue through which a student has support in developing and executing a post-secondary plan aligned with their skills and interests. You can see more research on each of these points in our full guidebook. Ideally, advisors are able to meet with teachers who teach their advisees to discuss trends and plan supports for particular students as necessary. In addition, advisory programs can and should serve as one of several school structures that students have available to them as they grow their identity and build relationships with adults and peers. So there are a variety of things that a school might need to invest in order to build a comprehensive advisory program. First, you need to find time within your schedule for students and teachers to have advisory. You need to find opportunities for advisors to get professional learning in order to deliver an effective service. You need to find time for these advisors to collaborate and plan. You might need to purchase a curriculum or find other high quality and aligned materials for advisory, and you might need to make investments in developing, managing, and monitoring your program. For an advisory program to succeed, it is critical to have this comprehensive strategy and a plan to engage all the adults who will be serving as advisors in the goals of the program. Advising, when done well, isn't just a one-off program squeezed into 20 minutes a week. The leaders we talked to when working on this guidebook described advisory as a part of the way of being of their school, something that's fully integrated into the teaching role and into the student academic and social emotional experience. So we'll spend the rest of our time today digging into scheduling and staffing components for advisory, and our full guidebook gets into each of these other components in a little more detail. So there are 3 key decisions that you would need to think about when scheduling and staffing a new advisory program. The first is to determine the frequency, length, and timing of advisory periods, how this will fit into your students' days and weeks. Next, you'll need to identify the staff needed to support your advisory time. And then you will also need to create release time for advisors to plan and collaborate. We will cover the first 2 decision points in the remainder of this talk. For a wealth of information and examples on scheduling release time for teachers, see our professional learning and collaboration guide and upcoming webinar. Finally, as mentioned, you will need to choose and implement an advisory curriculum, and more details on this and on how to target ESSER dollars in this investment can be found in the full guidebook, which will be linked at the end of this presentation. So first, to talk through scheduling, there are 3 common options for scheduling advisory. Groups can meet daily, typically at the beginning or end of day or before or after lunch. Groups can meet once weekly for a longer chunk of time, and this is typically accomplished by shortening each academic period on that one day of the week. Or groups can meet at a cadence that aligns with other school-wide structures and needs. For example, if your school has a school-wide flex or support block, advisory can happen in that block some days and have that time be used for other things on other days, which allows for some flexibility in number of sessions per week or per month. So for a daily advisory meeting, this can typically be created by reallocating small amounts of time from class periods, passing periods, or study hall each day. In this example on the right, students meet with their advisor for 30 minutes each morning. This results in a consistent daily schedule and regular time for check-ins whenever a student may need it. This is a significant investment in advisory each week. In this example, each student is receiving 2.5 hours weekly of support, which might be more time than your advisors can meaningfully plan for each week, or more time than can be reallocated from your instructional minutes. So weekly advisory is another option. These blocks are typically longer than the daily blocks and achieved by shortening academic periods. So in this example, academic periods are usually 55 minutes, and then on the advisory day on Friday, they're shortened by 5 minutes to allow for this 50-minute advisory chunk. This longer block can allow for deeper conversation and reflection and results in less time reduction in instructional minutes from classes over the course of the week as compared to a daily period. However, weekly advisory doesn't provide as much consistent time to build rapport within the group and provide immediate support when a student encounters a challenge. Advisory can also occur in a school-wide flex block. In this example, this school has a 30-minute school-wide block every day where all students and teachers are free at the same time. They can use this time flexibly, offering advisory, intervention, and enrichment opportunities to students. This means that the number of advisory periods each week can be flexible based on student needs. So maybe this school could start the year with 3 advisory periods a week to build strong connections within that group. And then as students come to midterm exams, they maybe have fewer advisory periods in a week and have more time in their flex block to access academic support. For more considerations and examples of how to schedule a school-wide flex block, you can see our targeted academic supports guide and webinar. Whichever schedule option you pick, you need to be able to identify which staff will support advisory time and enable you to achieve your desired group size. Recommendations on advisory group sizes vary anywhere from 12 to 22 students, but those with more intensive curriculums or focuses on individualized academic or post-secondary support may want to aim for group sizes of 10 or fewer. All elements of your program combine to determine which of your staff are best suited to serve as advisors. Programs with a stronger focus on academic content might require only teachers or counselors who have that content expertise to be advisors, whereas programs focused more on building strong relationships can use an all-hands-on-deck approach, including non-instructional staff in your building, such as librarians, administrators, or paraprofessionals, so students can meet in smaller groups. Peer mentoring from older students can also be a valuable support for students if group size with just the staff in your building is larger than desired. Staffing and scheduling decisions are also reciprocal in many instances. So if, for example, you want this cross-grade peer mentoring, then a school-wide block is likely necessary to ensure that students in all grades are free at the same time to meet in mixed groups. Finally, you might consider whether it's better for students to stay with the same advisor for all 4 years in order to deepen that one relationship, or for students to be assigned a new advisor each year if the program or curriculum has different focuses for each age group or grade. So that sums up our content on advisory for today. And next, we're going to talk about strategies to reduce teacher loads in service of building stronger relationships. So in many high schools, teachers are responsible for planning and supporting upwards of 130 students each semester or each year. But different scheduling and staffing approaches can be implemented to reduce the teaching loads of some teachers down to potentially under 100 students in a given semester. With lower loads, teachers have fewer students to get to know and plan supports for, so they can have a stronger connection to each student. If class sizes are smaller, each student can receive greater attention and individualized supports within class. This can also make a teacher's job more manageable in other ways. For example, by reducing grading time or increasing prep time or time that they have to collaborate with other teachers. Lowering teacher loads is one way to focus on improving student-adult relationships, one among many. A school that makes more intensive investments in counselors or other support staff can build relationships between students and those adults, but may not also be able to reduce class sizes and strengthen teacher-student relationships, which, as the research I described before, may be the most influential relationship to foster. So there are a number of staffing and scheduling strategies to promote stronger relationships and enable stronger student supports, each with various priorities and trade-offs. We're going to talk through most of these today, and a deeper exploration of each of them, including those we don't get to today, can be found in our full guidebook. As you can see here, most of these strategies reduce teacher load, but some have a stronger focus than others on increasing individualized attention for students or making a teacher's job more manageable. So we'll be talking through most of these, the ones in green next, and as I mentioned, you can refer to our full guidebook for more information on the others. So one way to promote strong, consistent relationships and coordinated supports is for a school to organize their students into smaller learning communities. Some schools might call these teams or houses. And in these models, an interdisciplinary team of teachers shares a few hundred or fewer students for instruction. And since these teachers all share the same set of students, they can use dedicated collaboration time to coordinate supports. Then students and teachers alike have smaller groups to build relationships with. For example, in Hillsdale High School, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area, they have about 300-ish ninth graders, and they divide them into 3 houses, each of which is assigned 4 core teachers, as you see on the right here. The core teachers collaborate to review student progress, and each serves as an advisor for a quarter of the students in their house. In this example, Hillsdale pairs their house structure with a looping process, where the same students are taught by the same 4 core teachers in 9th grade and then in 10th grade as well. So looping is another mechanism for deepening student-teacher relationships that can be implemented independently from this teaming or housing structure or in collaboration with it, like at Hillsdale High School. So looping simply means that a class of students stays with a teacher for more than 1 year, allowing them to get to know students more, better target instruction and support, and increase the connection across adults and across peer groups. Although looping has mostly been studied in elementary schools, there is some evidence of positive effects in high school as well, including improved attendance, behavior, and course performance. However, especially in the high school context, there can be challenges implementing looping if teachers have particular content specializations. For example, a 9th grade geometry teacher might not be as strong of a content expert in 10th grade algebra. Looping can also concentrate the effects of an ineffective teacher on a given set of students. So if you want to implement looping, you can be thoughtful about what scale and which teachers to do it with. You wouldn't have to do your whole 9th grade right away. You may only loop a subset of your strongest core subject teachers or implement some of the other examples on this slide. The next strategy we're going to talk through reduces teacher load by lowering class sizes in prioritized areas in a cost-neutral way. If you want to focus your resources on ensuring student success in a particularly important course, perhaps 9th grade English or 9th grade math, in order to set these students up for success throughout the rest of high school, this can be achieved by increasing class sizes in upper grade electives. So in the before chart on the left here, you see a typical set of average class sizes. Underclassmen core courses are larger because all of the students are taking the same course, and then upper grade electives are smaller as fewer students are spread over more options. However, if you transition FTE from upper grade electives to underclassmen core courses, you can create this after table on the right where 9th graders can have smaller class sizes and get extra attention in these high priority areas. However, this might require reducing the number of elective options available to upper grades. Of course, you can also reduce priority class sizes with no impact on other courses by hiring more FTE in these areas, either permanently or as a bridge to this more sustainable method. Another way of decreasing teacher load is decreasing the number of sections teachers teach rather than the number of students in each section. This gives teachers additional prep time for collaborative or individual planning and reduces the number of distinct relationships they need to build. However, it doesn't have the benefit of reducing class size and increasing individualized support in a given class. So in this example here, the before table is the same as on the last slide, and then 9th grade core teachers are assigned 1 fewer section in the table on the right, reducing their utilization to 5 out of 7 periods instead of 6 out of 7. This is accomplished by increasing class sizes in upper grade electives, which similarly to the last strategy may reduce the number of advanced electives you can offer. Again, you could of course Reduce sections for prioritized teachers by hiring more FTE in those areas, but you would need to consider the cost and long-term sustainability of this option. Finally, block schedules with semester-long courses can significantly lower teacher loads for each semester, for example, from 170 students all the way down to 85. Teachers have fewer sections to plan for, longer planning blocks, and students have fewer courses to focus on at one time. Blocks for each course are also longer, potentially enabling greater focus and flexibility in use of course time. However, if teacher utilization is currently higher than 75%, this could be a more expensive model. And only having courses for half of the year may cause challenges with end-of-year testing and also create long gaps between courses in the same subject, which may slow the pace of learning. Shifting to a block schedule, if you don't already have one, would be a significant change for every teacher and student in your building and should only be considered if there's a strong commitment to the schedule and the pedagogical changes it would require across stakeholders. However, like these other strategies, it could improve teacher-student relationships. So we've heard a lot about various strategies for improving teacher-student relationships in high school, and we want to bring it back to the current context. How can we use this ESSER opportunity to invest in some of these approaches? The availability of these stimulus funds and the particularly high levels of student need right now might mean that the next couple of school years are an ideal time to invest in additional FTE to lower class sizes or teacher load in priority areas. However, it is also a critical time to pilot and evaluate ways to continue these strategies in a more sustainable way. This might involve examining course taking patterns and class size data to identify ways to decrease underutilized course offerings or increase class size in select areas, such as evergreen electives. Or it might look like piloting ways of offering some of these advanced electives virtually or through dual enrollment or other community partners to reduce the number of small upper grade courses to offset class size decreases in prioritized grades. You can find more content on strengthening student-teacher relationships and social-emotional supports for high school students in our full guidebook, including more details on how to sustainably use short-term funds to build these systems and more detailed examples of ways to reduce teacher load. We greatly appreciate all the work that you are doing for students and hope that you found today's webinar to be thought-provoking and helpful as you embark on strengthening student-teacher relationships in high schools. We'd love to keep in touch, and if there are ways that ERS can support you or learn from you, please reach us using any of the methods here on the screen. And a reminder that this webinar is one in a series of high-impact ESSER investment strategies that we've created guidance on. We'll be diving into strategic spending, staffing, and scheduling models on other topics like tutoring, targeted academic supports, or student-teacher relationships in elementary schools and future webinars. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you soon.